Coco Chanel once said, "A girl should be two things, who and what she wants." But how much does media affect what a girl wants? My name is Savannah George, and I'm going to talk about the relationship and the effects of media on females. I've been really interested in females in our society and the effects of media on our society for a long time now. I'm going to hit two main points today, and they're going to be how media endorsed the transition of women from a domestic setting to a working setting, and I'm also going to talk about how media affected the way women see their bodies and see beautiful. The feminist movement and the media kind of blurred the roles of husband and wife. In the 50s and 60s, you saw television shows such as I Love Lucy and The Brady Bunch, and they had women who were in a domestic setting and they depended on men for happiness, so women were pressured to do just that. In the 70s is when we saw a big boom in women trying to branch out into office work, and that was depicted in shows such as The Mary Tyler Moore Show, and she did really well in the office setting, and women were challenged to do the same as she did. In the 80s, however, we saw pressure for women to get back into the domestic life. We saw Mr. Mom period with Full House, and it basically was like, look how well the house is doing without you, and it pressured women to come back. We also saw Mrs. Cosby, who chose to come back, and not to go out and work like most women were doing back in the 80s. Beverly Joyner said that women were kind of challenged to stand up for themselves, to make themselves what men have been, meaning that they can go out and do what men can do and they can do it just as well. And so women were challenged by the media to do just that, and that's exactly what they did. But as women started to be more progressive, and the beauty ideals started to become more strict, and women were more focused on their body because of what men tried to make them. In the 50s and 60s, women started to be hypersexualized. That was the first time that women were used because of their sex appeal, and they were used to advertise and to just make an idea of women and to make women feel like their body had to be a certain way. And that continued through the 70s and 80s. In the 90s, we saw a drastic change in television beauty with Oprah, Ellen, and Roseanne. And Roseanne was a bigger, more masculine woman, and Ellen was in fact a lesbian, and Oprah was African American, and she had her own show, and they were doing all well, and they were all looked at as beautiful. So it challenged women to be themselves and to be diverse, and they saw that imperfection can be, in fact, beautiful. Throughout the 2000s, though, until today, the idea started to change. We saw shows such as Desperate Housewives, Sex and the City, and Trophy Wife, which depicted skinny, beautiful, long-haired, make-upped women, and they were looked at just because of their body at times, and how beautiful they were. In Super Fun Night, we had a bigger star of the show, and her body became the punchline, and that kind of shamed women into being bigger, and it makes them have to be smaller in their head. And so women were trying to conform to the perfect woman, and the younger you are, the more likely you are to conform. And that's what Miss Beverly Joyner told me. Today I talked to you about media endorsing the transition from domestic to working life for women, and the media affecting the idea of beauty for women. And I'm going to conclude with this. Women are leaders everywhere you look, from a CEO to a housewife that holds together a home. Our country was built by women who stand alone. And Denise Clark said that. But some would challenge that women have never stood alone, that women have always stood with media.